and the government intervention. We never appreciate, we never evaluate, we never assess the importance, the validity, and the replication potential of such important practices. And we wait until they simply give up those things due to social, economic, and environmental pressure. I think there's a thing called heritage, agriculture and irrigation heritage. Heritage is a one that is we learn from the past and we should preserve for the future. Time has come to list out all these irrigation water saving techniques that was adapted during the past and understand the scientific basis of such interventions and introduce for the future. That is my answer.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, I think now we can open for discussion to the House. Of course, we are really running out of time, so let us take just few questions and see whether we can give some answers. That's the gentleman there. Please identify yourself also.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much to the panelists. My name is Stan Kaziboni. I have just one question for Dr. Rupesana. You mentioned quite a lot around value chains and food production. One question is around post-harvest losses. I think just moving around Sri Lanka, you see a lot of wastage. And this is something that I find quite striking, because Sri Lanka has potential to literally export a lot of food overseas. I think some of the fruits and some of the products of Sri Lanka are probably the best in the world. How can we stimulate production so that it's export oriented, and also that smallholder farmers get a fair share for their work? Thank you.
Yes, please go.
So, thank you very much for the question. Post-harvest losses. We all know that people are talking about the post-harvest losses 30-40%, but there is no any strong evidence to support that. Even in the past we had, now we have some kind of what is we call marketing channel competition is going on. In the past we had a Colombo-based commission system. That system, nobody is care about the quality, but now we have a different value chain. Then that value chain, people are care about the quality, and wastage is now according to when you take a supermarket value chain, on the only 5% is the wastage. Maybe I agree that we have a quality problem. Quality wastage is very high. One major reason is post-harvest management problem, because people do not care about the quality in the harvesting. Sometimes farmers harvest not the right time, that type of thing there. In the value chain also we have so many layers, 5-6 layers, but in what is the now system in the global chain is we are reducing the number of layers in the system by mostly now it is running, we call digital marketing or e-marketing system is going on. Directly linked with the farmers, with the end users, and also some countries now fantasizing farmer, then retailer, then consumer. No longer that wholesale people are there. When we reduce the chain, definitely we can improve the quality. I know that now what we need is, consumers are talking about they need convenience product, they need quality product at reasonable price, but that is the quality we need about the safety as well as nutrition. I think what we need is post-harvest improvement of post-harvest management as well as extension side. I think I answered your question correctly. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Vedanta Gunasekara. I'm an independent consultant on gender and social inclusion, and I'm here representing the Center for Women's Research with my colleague Professor Gunaratna. number of questions and comments generated from the initial video itself, but I will reduce the questions and comments I make onto the time. One of the things that I appreciate is the emphasis on and focus on women and children in the context of addressing agrarian communities or agricultural communities. But in a sense, the disjuncture I observed in the report that I sort of quickly went through is that degree of focus and that level of disaggregation in terms of gender when addressing the communities is not adequately reflected in terms of the policy recommendations that is articulated in this document. And I think that to me is a serious gap, because I think we need to bring in that level of disaggregation and that level of granularity in the research into the policy recommendations, because if we do not, then we are not adequately and appropriately addressing the gender-based needs of the very farming communities that we have been researching, and that we hope the policy recommendations and actions will improve their situation. So I think that is something that we need to really sharpen in terms of our policy recommendations. Unless we refer to communities, we refer to farmers, whereas we need to refer to the fact that there are females in agriculture, and there are female farmers and female producers of agricultural crops, as well as male agricultural producers. And unless we have that degree of disaggregation articulated in our policies, we will not actually benefit those people. That's one point. The other things that were generated through the video was that we saw these farmers complaining about human-elephant conflict, monkeys coming and eating crops. We need to not only look at the point of view of the farmers and the farming communities, we also need to look at the other perspectives of the situation of wildlife and the erosion of their habitats and the impact of climate change in relation to access to food and water for those animals, which is why then they come into farming communities. So unless those two approaches go hand in hand, I don't think we are going to resolve that problem. So one quick question. I noticed a picture of a rainwater harvesting tank in the video. Now this stuff has been going on for the last 30 years, but I didn't hear any mention of rainwater harvesting in relation to climate change and water resource management in the context of the presentations. And I just want to find out what is the status of this particular technology or methodology.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think, I don't think the panelists can answer your questions, because these concerns has to be taken up more in the second phase of the research study, I believe. Can we ask one of the researchers to give a comment on that? What she is saying is that more in-depth analysis of gender and children's impacts has to be studied on the one hand, right? Yeah, and it should be brought into very sharply into policy. That's correct. And second one is about the different methods of water conservation, like rainwater harvesting and so on, which has not been adequately covered in the research. That's what I think she is telling. So can one of the researchers give some comment on that, please? Or that can be, because we know it's only one season data has been collected so far. There's another season of data collected. Please.
Yeah, for the gender consideration, I think we can do further analysis based on our data. We will, thank you for pointing out that. We will consider it and we will improve that section as well. And for the rainwater harvesting and rainwater harvesting, I think in my presentation I also highlight that there is a huge potential, but they are not used in that. The rainwater harvesting tanks, as well as we call that, I don't know, it's patas. We call that small, I don't know what is the English term of patas. Yes, runoff rainwater harvesting ponds that can be easily adopted in the field level. And I have pointed out that the adoption of those kind of strategies are very low in all studied locations. So thank you for your point, madam. We will consider and we will incorporate those things into our report.
comment because rainwater harvesting has been pointed out. I mean, I was in fact surprised in your presentations. Rainwater harvesting has not been really, I mean, you have not taken that into all, as you say that the sample that you have selected, there was no rainwater harvesting, but I must say, there are over 49,000 tanks in the country right now, smaller tanks at household. There are a large number of other tanks, larger tanks, right, in hospitals and other various schools and hospitals. So rainwater harvesting has been, rainwater harvesting tanks has been a major source of water supply to rural communities in Sri Lanka. And that is for domestic use as well as home garden. And that has been established very well. So I think we should discuss about it and find out, I mean, because those are the areas, in fact, rainwater harvesting tanks are being developed there. Because I'm talking about it, I've been one of the pioneers in that. For the last 26 years, we have been doing the rainwater harvesting, right? And like Monraga, Hambantota, Kilinochi, Mulatu, these areas, there are a large number of tanks. And I was really surprised to see that none of these things came out in your presentation.
There are some tanks, but most of them are abandoned. They are not using, especially in the Singarandu area. We have seen some, we have also shared that photo here as well. They are using dark pits in the paddy lands to get drinking water. And in their house, surprisingly, they have a rainwater harvesting tank. And we asked them, why don't you use this one? But they are not using it. That is why we highlighted that it is important to make the awareness as well. They have some issues like that.
Yeah, I know there's management is a major issue because when the gutters break or something like that, they don't do anything about it. But otherwise, there's a big potential for rainwater harvesting for domestic level as well as small scale irrigation.
Thank you for that. I think we are really running out of time. Last question by Professor.
Yeah, thank you very much, and sorry for taking the floor again. There are two to three comments. One thing about the study that has already been done, as you said, it's just one season study and more work to be done. But the important point is outcomes with respect to policy suggestions that we have provided. They are quite similar to when you look at many past studies that have been done. That's a good thing about it. That means we are capturing the problem correctly. And issue is how many more times that we are going to capture the same problem like this in the future. So my point is that if you are confident about the recommendations that have been given, provincial adaptation planning is being done right now at every province. There are 3 cycles of discussions have been held. So if you can get these ideas inbuilt into the provincial adaptation plan, I'm sure the implementation of whatever the outcomes will be quite quick in the Sri Lankan conditions. So that's a big move towards having these provincial adaptation plans. So please consider that once again. The second point related to the study and based on the questions came from the audience. What I see, Chairman Sir, we are not considering the food system as a whole. And when you look at all the segments made by the members in the panel also, that means from the time the input supply is done until the time the waste generated out of the plate of the consumer is managed. This chain will have to be looked into. If we try to find solutions for bits and pieces, we'll never end up, there'll be no solution for food security per se. So if you can consider this component, good to look at the household food security, but if you are considering national level contribution, look at this food system. See how we can reduce food miles. That's one of the things that were brought up by many people. So if the food miles can be reduced, if the wastage can be reduced, losses can be reduced, and then the consumer price is going to be lower, while the farm is getting a good price at the very beginning. So this chain link is the one that is important. Very recently, Chairman said quickly, an FAO study was completed all island in 25 districts. It will very soon not go into full level publication, but will appear in the websites as well. Trying to look at these things, but let's keep that aside. But at least this study that you are going on, continuing for next season, if you can be muscle up further to incorporate all these food system components, take every nodal point and see how they can be strengthened to to make sure overall food security is achieved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that intervention. I do hope the researchers will take all this into consideration when they complete their study. I think another years of data to be collected and so on. In the interest of time, I think I have to close this session unless one has one last intervention. No? Thank you very much. This session is concluded.